So, let's talk about some basic algebra that we do every day in vet med. And it says math forwards, because in the next video I'll show you how to do math backwards. So let's get into it. Your formula for this kind of stuff is always going to be, let's see if I can get that out of the way. Okay, kg times mig per kg. And you're going to get a number that is migs. And then if you take your mig divided by mig per mil, now you get the answer of mils. So that's how we normally do it, what I call math forwards. So if we look at this example, we have a dog or a cat, 2.3 kilograms. And if we take our kgs, 2.3 kilograms, and we take that times the mig per kg, or what your formulary tells you the dose is, and for Sereni it's 1, you're going to get, oh my gosh, that didn't turn out, 2.3 times 1 is 2.3. There you go. If you're watching along on my calculator skills, sorry about that, I will try to make that more smooth. Now you've got mig, and you're going to divide that by mig per mil, which is your concentration, or what is on the bottle. And Sereni is 10 mig per mil, so you take 2.3 divided by 10, and you get 0.23 cc's, or mils, and that's your answer. Now we go to Buprenex. Again, we'll take our kgs, our 2.3, and we'll take it times the mig per kg, which is also known as a dose. And our formulary says a mid-range dose is 0.02 mig per kg. So 0.02, I did it again, 2.3 times 0.02. So that is going to be your milligram dose. So now you take milligram divided by mig per mil, which is on the bottle. That's your concentration of your bottle, 0.3 mig per mil. So 0.046 divided by 0.3, and that will give you 0.153 repeating. And as you know, you can't draw up 0.1533333. Nope, so you say screw that. You drop 0.15 cc's in a tuberculin syringe, and that's your dose in mils you're going to give. Going down the list, metronidazole, you've got your mig per kg, or your dose, and your mig per mil, or your concentration. So if I take 2.3 times my mig per kg, which is 5, I'm going to get 11.5 milligrams, mg. Now I take that divided by the concentration, which is also 5, and now I end up with 2.3 cc's. And that's the dose you're going to give in mils. Moving on to Baytril. Again, 5 mig per kg is your dose. 22.7 mig per mil is your concentration, or what's on the bottle. So if I take 2.3 times 5, I'm going to get 11.5 milligrams. Now if I take my 11.5 divided by my concentration, or my mig per mil, I'm going to get 2.3. Oh goodness, I went all the way back up here, didn't I? Silly me. We are on Baytril. Oh my goodness. 2.3 times 5 is 11.5 milligrams. Now this is a good thing to note. You see how I just made that mistake? I saw 11.5 up here. My eye got drawn there. This is an excellent mistake that I made, because this is very likely you might be drawing up all of these drugs in this order, or some order like this, and so you're writing them down, you're trying to do your due diligence, and your brain just wanders for half a second. And that's all it takes to make a mistake. I almost gave 2.3 mils of Baytril. But you can see that is not the dose for a 2.3 kilogram animal. So, believe it or not, that was a good mistake to make. You have to be diligent with what you're looking at, because some of these MIGs are going to come out to be the same. And if your brain wanders even for a second, you might have an oops. So if it makes it easier to not write them all down on the same page, you get out your post-it notes and you literally write one drug per post-it note, so your brain focuses on just that one drug, where you have your dose that you were given by the doctor, and then you have your concentration that's written on the bottle, and then you do your math. So that was a good mistake to make, but in practice, but not in reality. But we've all made the mistake, so now you can at least see how one would work through that. So, let's get back to Baytril. If we have, let's go all the way back now that we've been talking a bit, our 2.3 kgs times our dose, and that does equal 11.5 milligrams. And then you're going to divide it by Baytril's concentration, and that is 22.7. And that's going to be 0.057. We know we can't draw that up, right? But you could draw up 0.5, you could draw up 0.51. I can promise you, in the world of Baytril, the difference between 0.5 and 0.51 is not much to hang your hat on, and will likely not make much of a difference in the animal's recovery. The difference between 2.3 and 0.5, that's a huge mistake. So, when you're worried about these little things, of course, you can always ask the doctor, is it 0.5 or 0.51? What do you prefer? Absolutely. But make sure, if you're not terribly confident with your math yet, that you do the mathing, but have someone come behind you and redo the math, just to make sure that you can line up your numbers. And you'll feel more confident if you do it first, have somebody double check it, and then you can see where your mistakes are if you make any. Alright, so cefazolin. If we take our kgs times our mg per kg, which is 22, you get 50.6 mg. And then you divide that by concentration, and you get 0.56. Again, look at how close these are, right? 0.5 and 0.5. Now you're saying, but that's the right answer, Cherie. Well, it is. But what if you get your post-it notes mixed up, or you're writing them all in a line like this, and you draw up Baytril at 0.5 and cefazolin at, whoops, something else. As your numbers start to look similar, your brain kind of shuts off. So I just want to warn you about that, because that's what's happened to me in the past. I see numbers that are similar, and I start thinking, no, it was definitely metronidazole and Baytril that were the same. Oh wait, was it? Shoot, now I can't remember. But again, seeing some of these mistakes, I think, can help figure things out. Now, let's move on. We have an animal that's 6.9 kgs and an animal that's 15.7 kgs. Feel free to stop the video, go through all of these on your own, and then we can come back and see what the answers are. I'll keep going for now. If I take 6.9 times my dose of Serenia, or my mg per kg, that's 1, and the answer is 6.9 mgs. If I divide that by mg per mil, or concentration, which is 10, I get 0.69 cc's. Moving on to Buprenex, I have a 6.9 kg animal times my dose, or my mg per kg, which is 0.02, and that equals 0.138 mg. I'll divide it by concentration, or mg per mil, which is 0.3, and you get 0.46 cc's, or you can write mLs. They are the same thing when talking about the volume that we're drawing up. So you can state either in your medical record or when you're talking about the volume you're drawing up for an animal. Now we move on to metronidazole. You take your 6.9 kgs times 5, which is mg per kg, or again, dose, and you're going to get 34.5 mg. You're going to divide that by concentration, which is mg per mil, divided by 5, and that is 6.9 cc's, or mLs. Moving on to Baytril, 6.9 times mg per kg, or your dose, which is 5. You're going to get 34.5 mg. And then you're going to divide by that mg per mil, or concentration, and you're going to get 1.519. Again, you could go on forever with this number, but in reality, you can't draw that up. What can I draw up? I can draw up 1.5, or I can round up to this hundredths place, and I get 1.52 mils. I can draw up those. So either one of those would be acceptable. Again, I know I'm telling you that 0.02 isn't going to make much of a difference, but I don't work at your hospital, so you should run it by a doctor and say, what is more important to you? 0.5, is it 1.5 or 1.52? I would appreciate knowing, because some doctors are going to be very particular, and that's fine. You just want to ask. Moving on to cefazolin. If they are 6.9 kgs times mg per kg, you're going to get 151.8 mg, and you divide that by mg per mil, and you get 1.518 cc's. Again, it's up to you. Am I rounding like this, or am I rounding like this? Go ahead and go ask your doctor, go ask your head technician what makes more sense, and that would be that. So if we move on to a 15.7 kilogram animal, you take that all the way back up to Serenia, times 1. 15.7 mg divided by 10 is 1.57 cc. Then we move on, Buprenex. 15.7 kgs times 0.02 is 0.314 mg divided by 0.3, 1.046. Again, however you would round that. I would just round it to 1 personally, but I've been doing this for 20 years, and if someone's gonna yell at me, they're more than welcome to. I've developed a thick skin, but if you are not yet confident, and that is fine, you don't have to be yet, you go and ask. And that is absolutely acceptable. You're allowed to do that. We move on to metronidazole. Metronidazole, if you want to be fun. 15.7 times 5 will get you... Oh, I just don't realize if I did that one right. 15.7 kgs. There we go. I don't know if I did that right, but we're doing it again. Times mg per kg, or concentrate, or excuse me, dose, That's 78.5 mg. And you're going to divide that by mg per mil, which is also concentration. And that should just go right back to your kigs. Like that. Baytril, 15.7 times 5, 78.5 mg, divided by 22.7, 3.458 cc's. Again, rounding. Then to cefazolin, 15.7 times 22 mg per kg, 345.4 mg. And then you're going to divide it by 100, the concentration, and that is 3.454 cc's. Again, I'd round that up to 3.5 cc's, but it's always good to ask. Okay, I hope that helps.